"You can't fire me for that!" she shouted. The entire restaurant went silent. Plates clattered. Customers turned their heads. "You signed the contract, didn't you?" The manager sneered, arms crossed. "But I did nothing wrong," she shot back, eyes burning with frustration. The manager smirked. "Doesn't matter, you're done here, get out." But what the manager didn't know, this single mother wasn't backing down, and by morning, the whole world would be watching. What happens next? You won't believe it. The morning sun barely peeked through the cracked blinds of a tiny two-bedroom apartment in downtown Atlanta. The air smelled of fresh brewed coffee and buttered toast, a small comfort in the chaotic life of Monica Harris, a 32-year-old single mother struggling to make ends meet. She wasn't just any woman. She was a fighter, a survivor, someone who had spent her entire life proving people wrong. With her curly hair tied in a tight bun, she buttoned up her white work blouse, ensuring not a single wrinkle was out of place. Today had to be perfect. She couldn't afford another misstep. Across the room, Mikey, her 6-year-old son, sat at the rickety kitchen table, kicking his little feet against the chair legs as he munched on a peanut butter sandwich. His bright eyes held the innocence Monica fought so hard to protect. "Mommy, do you have to work late again?" he asked, voice tinged with disappointment. Monica knelt beside him, tucking a stray curl behind his ear. "Just for a little bit, baby. But I promise, this weekend we'll have a movie night, okay?" Mikey nodded, but she could see the sadness in his face. Monica's heart clenched, but there was no time for guilt. She had rent to pay, groceries to buy, and bills stacking up like a never-ending mountain. She grabbed her purse and kissed Mikey's forehead. "Be good for Mrs. Thompson, all right?" she whispered, referencing the kind old lady who babysat him after school. With one last glance at her son, Monica took a deep breath and stepped outside, heading straight for Brookside Bistro, the upscale restaurant where she had worked for the past 6 months. The moment she stepped into the restaurant, the aroma of sizzling garlic butter and fresh-baked bread filled her nostrils. White-clothed tables gleamed under the warm lighting, and classical jazz hummed through the air. Brookside Bistro wasn't just any restaurant. It was a status symbol, a place where the city's elite gathered to sip overpriced wine and judge the world from behind their designer sunglasses. Monica had fought tooth and nail to get this job, and she was good at it. Her co-workers knew her as the hardest worker on staff, always on time, always professional. Yet despite her dedication, there was one person who never seemed to notice her efforts. Gordon Whitman, the restaurant's manager. Tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a suit that screamed arrogance, Gordon was the type of man who believed power was meant to be wielded, not earned. He treated his staff like disposable tools, replaceable, unimportant, and he especially had it out for Monica. Why? Because she didn't grovel. She didn't shrink when he spoke down to her, and that made her a problem. Monica tied her apron and stepped onto the restaurant floor, forcing a polite smile. Tonight was important, a VIP event, the kind of night that could make or break careers. Every table was reserved. The air buzzed with conversations from wealthy patrons. Everything had to be perfect. Halfway through her shift, as she carefully balanced a tray of champagne glasses, she heard a sharp voice cut through the noise. "Monica, in my office now." She froze. Gordon's voice was never a good sign. Heart pounding, she handed the tray to another waiter and followed him into his sleek, modern office. The moment the door shut, his expression twisted into barely concealed irritation. "Do you think you're special, Harris?" he asked, leaning back in his leather chair. Monica frowned, caught off guard. "Excuse me?" He threw a receipt onto the desk. Table 6, a $300 bottle of wine. "You charged them for the wrong vintage." Monica's stomach dropped. She picked up the receipt, scanning it. The bottle listed wasn't the one she had served, but she knew she hadn't made that mistake. "Sir, with all due respect, I double-checked the order. This wasn't—" Gordon slammed his palm on the desk. "I don't want excuses. I want accountability. I should fire you for this." Heat rose to Monica's face. But I didn't. Get out. Her hands clenched into fists. Sir, please, I said get out. The words hit like a slap. Monica took a shaky breath, swallowed the rage burning in her chest, and walked out of the office. But something inside her snapped. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. As she stepped back onto the restaurant floor, she forced herself to focus. But her mind was racing. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Not now. Not when Mikey depended on her. Her feet moved on autopilot, delivering plates, refilling glasses. But as she passed by table 6, her stomach twisted. There, sitting with a smug grin, was Jessica Whitman, Gordon's younger sister. And in front of her? The exact bottle of wine Monica had supposedly mischarged. Realization hit like a freight train. Jessica had switched the bottles, and Gordon knew. He had set her up. Monica's hands trembled. She had 2 choices: accept the injustice and lose everything. Fight back, no matter the cost. She wasn't the kind of woman to back down. She wasn't going down without a fight. And what happened next would change everything. Monica's heart pounded in her chest. She had barely stepped out of Gordon Whitman's office, but she knew now. This wasn't a mistake. It was a trap. Jessica Whitman, Gordon's entitled, spoiled sister, had intentionally switched the wine, and Gordon knew he had set her up. But the real question that haunted Monica's mind was, why? She had worked at Brookside Bistro like a shadow, silent, efficient, and loyal, but now she was being treated like a criminal. Was this just an excuse to fire her? Or was there something bigger at play? Monica's mind raced, because if she was going to fight back, she needed to know who was on her side. Taking a deep breath, she headed toward the kitchen. Inside, Luis, her closest friend and the only person she had trusted since she started working there, was flipping an omelet in a sizzling pan. "Hey, Luis." He glanced up, his brow furrowing as he noticed the look on her face. "What's wrong, Monica?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You served Jessica's table, didn't you?" Luis nodded slowly. "Did you see her switch the wine?" He hesitated. His hands fidgeted with his apron. Monica's stomach clenched. "You knew, didn't you?" she whispered, her voice sharp with disbelief. Luis exhaled heavily. "Monica, look, I was told to ignore it. If I had spoken up..." "You sold me out." She cut him off, her voice shaking. Luis looked down at the floor. "I'm sorry." But apologies wouldn't pay her rent. Seeing even Luis turn his back on her felt like a punch to the gut. She was on her own now, and when you're alone, you either stay silent or you fight. Monica took a deep breath. Gordon and Jessica might have thought she was powerless, but she wasn't going down without a fight. Her first move? Gathering evidence. Walking back to the dining area, she spotted a busboy clearing Jessica's table. "Wait!" Monica whispered urgently. The busboy froze. "Where's the wine bottle?" The guy shrugged and stepped aside. Then Monica's eyes landed on the trash bin. She lifted the lid, and there it was. The half-empty bottle, its label still intact. But here's the kicker. It wasn't the $300 bottle Gordon had accused her of switching. It was a $40 bottle. Monica's heart pounded with adrenaline. This was proof. She had something to take to someone. But where? And how? Just as she reached for the bottle, a shadow loomed over her. She looked up quickly. Gordon Whitman stood before her, arms crossed, smirking down at her. "What do you think you're doing, Monica?" Her throat went dry. That smug grin on his face wasn't just confidence. It was a predator's grin. "Checking the wine," Monica replied, keeping her voice steady. Gordon chuckled softly. "Don't touch that. It's trash, Harris." Monica didn't move. "You set me up." Gordon raised an eyebrow, tilting his head slightly. "And let's say I did?" Monica's breath hitched. Was he admitting it? Was he really this bold? But the worst part wasn't his words. It was how little he cared. Gordon took another step closer. "You don't belong here, Monica," he he said, his voice smooth as silk. "You're not part of this restaurant. We work for customer satisfaction, not for people like you." "People like me?" Monica's voice was cold. Gordon shrugged. "It's not the first time you've heard that, is it?" 5. The turning point. No escape, but a chance. Monica felt fire surge in her chest. This man was doing everything in his power to ruin her. And worse, he thought he could get away with it. But Monica wasn't backing down. There was no way out, but there was still a way forward. Gordon's voice was like an order from a superior. "Get out! And don't forget, Monica, I know everyone in this industry. You won't find another job in this town." But Monica started to smile. "And don't forget, Gordon," she said slowly, "every camera has an owner." Gordon's eyebrows knitted together. "What does that mean?" Monica tilted her head slightly. "When I walked in today, I noticed a security camera in the lobby. If you really set me up. I'm sure it's all recorded." Gordon's face lost all color. The game had changed. And Monica? She was no longer just an employee. She was a fighter, and she was ready for battle. The moment Gordon's face lost all color, Monica knew she had him cornered. For the first time since this nightmare began, she held the power. Her voice was calm, deliberate. "See, Gordon, the thing about power is it only works when no one's watching." His jaw clenched. "You don't have anything." Monica smirked. "You're right, I don't." Then she pulled out her phone. "But they do." On her screen, the live stream, thousands of people were already watching. Comments flooded in. "This is insane." He set her up. "Fire him now." And just as Monica had planned, the restaurant manager saw everything. The doors swung open and in walked Mr. Caldwell, the restaurant's owner. His face was tight with fury. "Monica, I need you in my office." Gordon took a step forward, but Caldwell shot him a look. "Not you. Sit down, Whitman." The power shift was complete. Sitting across from Caldwell in his sleek mahogany office, Monica took a deep breath. "Tell me everything," Caldwell said, his voice firm but controlled. And she did. The setup, the fake wine switch, the way Gordon and Jessica had used her as a scapegoat. When she was done, Caldwell was silent for a moment. Then he picked up his phone. "You're going to want to hear this," he said into the receiver. Seconds later, the door swung open, and standing there was Jessica Whitman. "What is this about?" she huffed, flipping her blonde hair. Caldwell's voice was ice cold. "It's about your little stunt. We have the footage, Jessica. We know you switched the wine." Jessica's smug expression flickered. "That's ridiculous." "Save it." Caldwell cut her off. "You're fired." Jessica gasped. "What? You can't do that. My brother—" "Gordon's out too," Caldwell interrupted. "Effective immediately." Monica felt a weight lift off her chest. She won. For the first time in her life, justice had been served. Later that night, as Monica walked home, the city lights glowed brighter than ever. Her phone buzzed. A message from Caldwell. "Meet me tomorrow. I have a new opportunity for you." She smiled. Life had knocked her down more times than she could count. But this time, she got back up. Stronger, wiser, unbreakable. What can we learn from Monica's story? Never let someone else define your worth. Stand up when you're wronged, because the truth always finds a way out. And remember, karma never forgets. Do you believe in justice? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more powerful stories.